La Asamblea
The General Assembly will hear an address.
Recep Tayyip Erdogan, Presidente de la República de Turquía.
President of the Republic of Turkey. I like to ask protocol to accompany His Excellency to the rostrum.
En nombre de la Asamblea General.
On behalf of the General Assembly, I have the honor of welcoming His Excellency Recep Tayyip Erdogan, President of the Republic of Turkey. You have the floor, sir.
Sayın Başkan,
His Excellency, Mr. President, Honorable Secretary General, distinguished heads of states and governments, esteemed delegates, I have the honor to greet you personally and on behalf of my country and my people. At the onset, I would like to thank His Excellency Lajčák for his successful work over the past year as the President of the 72nd session of the United Nations General Assembly. I also would like to congratulate Mrs. Espinosa, who has taken over the presidency of the General Assembly. I hope and pray that the session of the General Assembly this year will avail an opportunity to bring all that is best to the people of the entire world. Esteemed delegates, we are holding this meeting on the 100th anniversary of the end of the First World War. The League of Nations, which was founded after the war, was immediately replaced by the United Nations in the aftermath of the Second World War. Undoubtedly, the United Nations, over its 73 years of history, had carried out enormous endeavors and accomplishing many achievements of a great extent. However, it is also a fact that we need to admit that in time, the United Nations moved away from the capacity to meet the expectations of humanity for peace and welfare. In particular, the Security Council has taken such a form that it started serving the interests of its 5 permanent seat holders at the Security Council with veto rights, but standing idle to the oppressions in the other parts of the world. The massacres in Bosnia, Rwanda, Somalia, recently in Myanmar, and in Palestine, as we speak, have all taken place before the eyes of the United Nations Security Council. Those who remained silent against the oppression of the Palestinians, who reduced the humanitarian assistance for them, are only increasing the courage of the oppressors. Even if the whole world turns its back, we, as Turkey, will continue to be on the side of the oppressed Palestinians and will protect the historical and legal status of our first Qibla, which is Jerusalem. Unfortunately, in many parts of the world, every day, we confront the scenes of ethnic cleansing and mass slaughter that none of us would wish to see. Likewise, from health to education, from food to culture, there is a high state of dissatisfaction in terms of the whole work undertaken by this huge organization. We don't wish to see such an important structure turning into an organization with a constant reputation for failure and complaints. Therefore, on every occasion, we underline that there needs to be a comprehensive reform in the structure and functioning of the United Nations, particularly at the Security Council. We believe when we say the world is greater than 5, we are becoming the voice of the common conscience of the entire human race. The world is not the world of the times of the Second World War, neither the aftermath. We have representatives from 194 countries under this roof. And why 194 countries cannot be represented at the Security Council? Why shouldn't they, in a rotational manner, have their permanent seats at the Security Council? We have only 5 permanent seat holders at the Security Council, and the remainders are just temporary, with no power whatsoever. Confining the reform of the United Nations to the budget will never contribute to the settlement of the real problems, nor will it make anybody happy nor content. There is a need for increasing the efficiency of this organization, which I deem to be very important for the future of the world. In fundamental areas of social equality, development, and security, we need many, many reforms to undertake. Esteemed delegates, as Turkey, when we look at the world, beginning with our own geography, we see there are many important tasks to be undertaken by the United Nations. In our understanding, justice is above all, and it will bring order, salvation, and happiness to the entire world. In our civilization, we refer to a phenomenon as the circle of justice that bases itself on a correct establishment and management of relations between the society, law, state, the power of the state, economy, and justice. The links of this circle are intertwined, but however, these links are shattered to bits regardless of where you go in the world today. This is why our world today is entrapped by political, social, and economic instabilities and is constantly suffering. To enable a peaceful and secure future for all, we have a duty to succeed in the humankind struggle, starting with the search for justice, ending with the establishment of such a justice. Today, when the assets of the wealthiest 62 people in the world amount to the assets of the half of the world's population of 3.6 billion people, this means that there is a significant problem that we need to do something about. 821 million people go to bed hungry every night, but at the same time, more than 672 million people have been diagnosed with obesity. And there's a problem with that. 258 million people across the world are hitting the road searching for better conditions to live and survive. And 68 million on a global scale have been displaced, pointing out to yet another outstanding problem that we need to do something about. There's a problem when the early child mortality likelihood of a baby born in Africa is 9 times greater than that of a baby born here. The famous Islamic philosopher Rumi started shining a beacon from the city of Konya in the heartland of Anatolia in order to enlighten all the souls across the world, once said the following: justice means bestowing things in its proper place, meaning giving someone what he or she needs or desires. Let us establish a global administration system that will serve as a shield to protect the oppressed, the victimized, and to lend a helping hand to the hungry and the unsheltered, which will bring hope to the future generations. Everything that we deliver over this podium, all the analyses and all the proposals that we come up with, will only make sense if we can put them into action. Again, according to the philosopher Rumi, an oppressor is the one who does not fulfill their duties vis-à-vis the humanity. If we want to make the United Nations a source of justice instead of cruelty, we have to dedicate ourselves more fully to the tasks bestowed upon us. Esteemed delegates, Turkey is sustaining its efforts towards a fairer world through its global humanitarian diplomacy. Inside our borders, we are currently hosting 4 million refugees, 3.5 million of which are coming from Syria. This is unprecedented on a global scale, and they have access to all forms of services that one could ever need. We have spent about $32 billion for the care of the refugees until so far as the Republic of Turkey. Furthermore, in cities such as Jarablus, Al-Rai, and Afrin in Syria that we have previously secured, we have provided humanitarian aid to millions of people in need, just like the de-escalation zones that have recently been declared in the city of Idlib. The number of Syrian students attending school in Turkey is well above 600,000. Refugees in our country have access to all the healthcare services free of charge, just like any other Turkish citizen. In addition, we attend to all of the needs of the refugees that are in the Turkish protection centers. However, so far, we have only received $600 million from international organizations, and we have received only 1.7 billion euros from the EU, which is not going directly into the Turkish